Welcome to episode number 188 of CXOTalk on a sunny and hot afternoon here in Boston. I'm Michael Krigsman, and today we are talking with Michael Shea, who is the CIO of Morgan Lewis, which is one of the largest legal firms in the world on the face of the planet. And we're going to be talking about digital transformation and innovation in the legal profession. And I would like to first express a grateful and wholehearted thank you to our sponsor, Avanade. And Avanade, you guys have been great partners, and so thank you very much. And I also want to thank Livestream, another one of our partners that has been just awesome working with CXOTalk. So, Michael Shea, you're CIO of Morgan Lewis, and welcome to CXOTalk.
Great, thank you for having me, Michael.
Michael, tell us about Morgan Lewis.
Well, we're an old law firm that was founded in 1873. We have approximately 2,000 legal professionals. That's across 28 offices in 17 time zones. We've got amazing lawyers all over the world in 17 practice groups and across 5 industry sectors. And it's a great firm. We've got an amazing culture. It's based on common respect and where collaboration is encouraged, and even part of our reward system. And our clients see the value in going to one firm who can address all their needs on a global basis. So really great place to be.
And I know you are a very large firm. You have about 2,000 legal professionals, and I know you don't report your revenue, but one can get that information publicly, and it's almost $2 billion. So you're the equivalent of, you are a multinational, multi-billion-dollar organization.
That's correct.
So tell us, let's talk about digital transformation in the legal industry. And Michael, would you set the stage for us? Please share with us the state of the legal industry and where it's coming from. And then that will provide a good platform for talking about innovation and where things are going.
Well, the legal industry really has been operating in the same way for many years, and many aspects of the core way we practice will continue, but there's a lot of change happening in the industry. We have new competitors with legal outsource providers and large consulting companies outside the US who are getting into the legal market. And clients are also sourcing work differently. They used to source all legal services through law firms, and now there's a lot of multi-sourcing going on across different providers, and their vendor management offices are now involved. Whereas before, a lot of the engagement we had with a client was with general counsel, which is our primary place that we actually have those relationships. But we now have vendor management offices that are also being introduced. There's also a lot of consolidation in the marketplace, and our clients are working with way too many law firms, and we've heard from many of them that they're looking to consolidate these relationships.
So historically, if you worked with a legal firm, especially at a large firm like yours, there was in a sense, lawyers were like doctors. They were the omniscient ones. And today you're saying that client expectations are changing, and to a certain, maybe even a large extent, that's driving changes among the legal profession.
Yeah, and our key relationships are still very deep personal relationships as we provide great value to our clients. But there are other factors there that are playing into here as well. Information security and compliance is now a major concern, whereas a few years ago, when it wasn't a board level issue, isn't as much of a problem. There's also a greater demand for efficiency, and in my area, lots of new technologies that are coming onto the market that will have a significant impact on how law firms operate in the next 5 to 10 years. And in this time frame firms that are investing in these new capabilities and adopting change will gain competitive advantage, in my opinion. I think that those firms that adopt and change and innovate, there will be the haves and the have-nots in the industry. Those that have those capabilities will be seen as those firms that clients want to engage. And I know for us, this is a big focus of ours.
So please elaborate on that. So when you talk about haves and have-nots in the legal industry, that's kind of a wild thing to say. So please elaborate on what you mean by that.
Well, we have to look at it from a few different perspectives. One is from the client's perspective in helping to drive greater efficiency. They expect it. They want more with less, and that means taking advantage, having better knowledge management capabilities, taking advantage of our great knowledge that we have in the organization. It means being able to engage with them digitally, unlike many law firms are doing today, and getting more sophisticated with that digital client engagement. It could be automation of documents. There's a lot of innovation around machine learning and artificial intelligence to evaluate contracts and M&A deals and other aspects of legal. And if you add all these things together, you're looking at a very different operating environment. It still comes down to, though, you need great lawyers and this technology that's being introduced really is a set of tools and capabilities around those great lawyers. And not only it's important for the clients, but for us to attract new lawyers and for us to attract people and retain our people, we also need to be viewed and have great technology. And that is one of the key factors for recruiting our more experienced partners, but also the new millennials that are coming into the legal space every single year. And so it's critical. And we see that more and more as we interview new people coming to the firm, the importance of technology and these tools, and even being able to do more self-service and move faster and take advantage of things that we've done in the past is becoming more and more important to these millennials.
So if we parse what you've just been saying a little bit, it sounds like for you, technology is a core enabler of let's say efficiency, but at the same time, you are spending a lot of effort aligning technology to all the business goals, better retention, employee retention, and attracting employees. You mentioned using machine learning for reading contracts. So it sounds like technology is playing a pivotal role at the firm in quite a number of different ways.
Well, you're speaking to the CIO, so of course I'm going to be saying yes, that's the answer. But it absolutely is becoming more and more important. I read an article in the news this morning about how law firms are investing more in technology, and we are making big investments in technology ourselves. But I do see it as a differentiator for our own personnel, our own lawyers, our own professional staff, and absolutely that will translate into what the clients see and how the clients perceive us as well. And we're a firm that is very quickly transforming into one where I think we will have some of the best technology of any law firm in the world in the very near future.
Given your size, you are also shaping where the legal profession is going in terms of technology. And I'm really interested in focusing on the business issues, and let's come back to that. But since we're talking about technology, can you elaborate, tell us a little more about the types of technologies you're using, and what do you see coming down the pike with technology, and why? What is this doing for the firm when you're investing in these technologies?
Well, let's start again with the client side. We're focused on enhancing, great client service, what we have today. And a lot of this today means better digital client engagement across all mediums. Our website, and we've made big investments in our website. We've rebranded the firm. We've got great content on our website. We're doing a lot of work around extranet sites right now, and allowing better workflow between our lawyers and our clients, and capabilities that we don't think exist at other law firms. And then mobile is clearly one of those channels that all of those that great content needs to go out through the mobile channel as well. And then providing our own lawyers with tools to facilitate internal and client collaboration is critical. Automation capabilities, and really making sure that we've got the best tools on the market that help produce great work product. We're also managing our business better. We want to provide greater transparency into our lead and lag measures through easy to consume dashboards, and we've made significant investments in optimizing our user experience across all of our systems, and this is even including being more aggressive with technology deployment. We're the first big law firm to deploy Windows 10 Office 2016 with over 100 upgraded applications and new tablets and touchscreen computers. So we're being pretty aggressive in putting some of the latest technology in legal field and in the broad technology area in the hands of our lawyers and our staff.
You mentioned artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Yeah, in the long term, some things that we're working on now that we think are going to have pretty big payoff in the long term, and that's really in our knowledge management area. So I manage 3 areas of the firm. I manage IT. I'm also responsible for our knowledge management area and our information governance and records teams, and all of these are critical. And one of the areas really interesting that's happening right now is in our knowledge management area, where our platforms are getting much more sophisticated, from the large amount of document automation projects that we have to intelligent search tools that we're rolling out. We've got a new enterprise search tool rolling out next week, work product reuse, legal reference tools, and some of these are very proprietary to Morgan Lewis, and then some more advanced things, AI and machine learning platforms. Right now, we're focusing those efforts on M&A documents and M&A contracts, and we also are seeing activity. We've got a very successful e-discovery practice, and machine learning and artificial intelligence is critical in e-discovery, and even predicting outcomes of legal strategies. So there's a lot there, and things are even more in the future that we're working with in our labs are around augmented reality, and we're doing a lot of work with Microsoft HoloLens at this point, and other virtual reality providers. HoloLens is our primary focus at this point, and there's some very interesting use cases for augmented reality in the legal space.
My impression or my sense would be that these kinds of technologies are right now pretty much only available to very large firms like yours. Is that correct? I would assume so.
Well,
I could be wrong.
I don't know of any other law firm using augmented reality at this point. We're looking and using it in IP cases where we can look at things like complex chemical formulas or chip technology, but instead of in 2D, we can walk around them and see them. So imagine how that changes how an expert witness or in the future a jury may look at these objects and change the outcome of a case. E-discovery use cases that allow us to look at information relationships in 3D, and then even communication in general is going to have a major impact from augmented reality and virtual reality in terms of being able to virtually see people and interact in a virtual environment. And what's amazing is when we start looking at these technologies today, they're pretty well baked. We're not that far from having wide-scale practical implementation. So definitely within the next 5 years, we're going to see most businesses, including legal, adopt a lot of these technologies that are thought of as future. But to do that, you need a pretty strong and to be honest, larger IT department. You need development capabilities, and we have internal development development teams, as well as the sponsor of this program, Avanade. We have an offshore development team with Avanade, and I think those development capabilities are a bit unique in our industry.
So you are, in fact, technology developers.
Absolutely. So in the legal industry, you have a lot of law firms, especially in the U.S. And the UK. And traditionally, the software providers, with the exception of a few of the larger providers, have serviced the small and medium business or small medium law firm industry. So you don't. So some of the solutions that are used in small and large law firms are limited in terms of what you can get in the marketplace, and aren't necessarily designed for a large global entity with multiple languages, multiple currencies, different business problems. So my opinion has been, since I joined about 1.5 years ago, where we can't find a great piece of technology in the industry, we actually go and build it. And of course, I'd much rather buy than build in most cases. But by building some of our own technology, it gives us a competitive advantage in that we can show that we can do things with our clients that no one else can. And our clients are going to be seeing more and more of this, especially over the next year, as some of our innovations start to come to light.
So one of the questions that people always have is, when do you decide to build technology yourselves versus buy off the shelf? How do you determine that there is a sufficiently strong case for differentiation or process uniqueness?
Well, to be honest, Gartner Group, for example, has some great formulas on this. But I personally like to look at it. Of course, cost is a factor, but that we have to take into account with every investment. A few things that I look at, though, is one, is the solution going to meet the needs of our size firm? Is it going to meet the needs of our clients? Is it adequate? And does it give us a competitive advantage? Me going and building an HR platform really doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't really give us a competitive advantage, even though we are a professional services firm. And there's great solutions on the marketplace. But other areas as well that I evaluate, and I've been very vocal in the industry, especially to the vendors that we work with, is around having a great user experience. And maybe this is my influence in coming from the mobile industry, in that in the mobile world, if your mobile app didn't instantly work well, was intuitive, felt great, looked great, added value, you got deleted. And when I started at the firm and looked at the portfolio of systems that we had, it became very clear that not only the things that did we develop, but the things that we purchased off the shelf, the user experience was not good. And that means there's adoption challenges. There's you don't get as much value out of that platform, and we're right now overhauling as much and as fast as we can our software so that the user experience is consistent. It's great. There's things like contextual help that allow you to use the software more effectively, and in the end, it does the job. And we're listening to our end users as well to get feedback on whether software is good or not, and we're adopting or killing it if it's not effective.
We're talking with Michael Shea, who is the CIO of Morgan Lewis, which is one of the largest law firms on the planet. And we're talking about the future of the legal industry and digital transformation in the legal industry. And you are part of the show. So if you have questions, tweet them. There's a tweet chat going on right now using the hashtag CXOTalk. And Michael, we have a question from Twitter. Arsalan Khan asks, when you think about transformation and think about people, process, technology, where are the biggest challenges, and what are those challenges, and how do you address those challenges?
Well, I get the question quite a bit. We're friends of mine heard that lawyers are resistant to change. And when I was interviewing to join the firm, I interviewed with our new chair. Her name's Jamie McKeon, and one of the things I found with her is that she is a huge proponent of technology, of innovation. In fact, one of our 5 strategic objectives is a culture of innovation. And I asked her this question, is there going to be resistance to change that I can help bring to the organization? And she said that there's actually pent up demand for this change. And then when we started to roll out new capabilities over the last year and a half, and especially over the last year, what we found was that if that technology and that capability makes sense, it has great usability, it's easy to use, it adds value to someone, there really is very little resistance. And I would say 90+% of the capabilities that my team has introduced to the organization has been very well received. Now, I'm not saying there aren't risks that need to be managed, and there are the few people that need a little bit more attention as we're changing. But I've been very surprised that if we communicate effectively, we make our systems easy to use, and we make a clear case for it adding value to someone. There really hasn't been a lot of resistance to change in an environment where traditionally law firms have been very scared of any change.
That's pretty amazing, actually. So really what you're saying is that the resistance to change evaporates if it's the right fit, if it's adding value, as you said, and if the UX is there. But the legal profession has this reputation for being very highly change averse. And so when you're thinking about adoption, what are the steps that you take when you're going to introduce new technology, which I assume also means introducing new processes into the firm?
Well, there are. I think it's important to talk about the industry as a whole. Most law firms are a partnership in the U.S. They're all partnerships. There's some ownership models in other countries, but you have a group of very smart people where those technology investments, hit someone's personal bottom line. It's a more personal investment to them. So you really have to ensure, especially in our industry, that one, the technology makes sense, but also there's a communication on cost impact when it makes sense. So something as basic as we're replacing every single printer in the firm in the next few weeks. But I got a lot of requests for people to say, I actually redline contracts, whether it's digitally or on paper. I need to see the red line. And we don't have color printers everywhere. So the printers are all getting replaced with color printers, but also with scanners. And what's interesting is it's actually costing less because our 10-year-old printers that were there, no one bothered to look to see whether they're more expensive. So that kind of change, again, makes sense to people, adds value, but we're also able to try to optimize our size and our purchasing power and try to drive good value as well. So.
But something like printers, that's an infrastructure issue. What about introducing a new technology that really changes how the attorneys will conduct their business? So
one of the things that's interesting is, let's take machine learning, for example. Machine learning is something that will disrupt our industry. And it somewhat goes against, in some cases, the billable hour rate. So if I can actually evaluate a contract faster, yet I've had to make that investment in technology, I may be able to do things in less time. However, it means I can add more value to my client. It also, though, may impact how we staff that matter. It may impact how we price it to our clients. We may go from billable hours to more of a fixed price engagement. So technology can actually have an impact on an organizational impact, can have an impact on how we work, can have an impact on the quality of work to our clients. And while this is not having, this specific technology is not having a material impact on our industry today, in 5 years, it absolutely will.
So one of the things that technology is enabling, it sounds like, is changing your business model. So it sounds like clients have different kinds of expectations of you, and you are using technology to help evolve your business model in response.
Yeah, there's been many articles, especially in the legal space, around the demise of the lawyer being replaced by the computer. And let's just say we're very far away from that happening. Our key asset in our firm is still our people. It's the expertise that they have. A lot of the innovation that I'm talking about makes them work faster, makes them work even smarter, makes them collaborate and communicate better. And again, these are expectations of our client that we're going to get faster, smarter, and better. And they're really enabling capabilities. But really, we're still focused on retaining and hiring the best talent in the industry and superstars in the industry. And while the technology is critical, especially in the near future, it's all about how do we evolve our teams to take advantage of that, and then look at things like our organizational structures, our leverage of our people, and even our client relationships, and how we charge.
As CIO, what is your relationship to the business side of the firm, and how do you, for example, become aware of these strategic issues, and what's your input in helping develop transformation agendas, goals, and so forth?
So this is where I'm a bit lucky in my industry, in that we've a very simple management structure. We have a 5-person management committee chaired by Jamie McKean, our chair, and with 4 managing partners and our chief operating officer in that management committee. And then we have a 7-person executive team. And we all interact a lot. We talk a lot. We get a lot of direction from our management committee. We also have an advisory board in the organization that we get a lot of feedback from, but it's actually a very small group that is able to be agile, move quickly, make decisions, and we get great support from our management committee. And I personally have been very encouraged by the excitement around technology and the capabilities that we're working on, and our management committee has been a great partner to me, especially our CIO and our chair, to give direct feedback as to what they think is going to work and what may not work. So we actually have a pretty easy structure to work within, and allows us to move very quickly.
So from this standpoint, as a multi-billion-dollar legal firm, in a sense, you're no different than any other type of business. So my question, therefore, is how does your management committee think about the technology, and how do they determine their appetite in consultation with you, their appetite for investment in transformation, which includes technology, but includes lots of other things as well?
Well, a majority of our management committee, they're great lawyers. But they're also power users of our technology. So our management committee, they don't just have their administrative job and their leadership roles, but they're also acting lawyers. They manage clients. They actually they're working on active legal matters. And so they actually have multiple jobs. Some days I'm not sure how they do it, but so they use our technology. They're constantly traveling. They use our mobile technology. They do billing. They feel the pain of bad systems just like other people in the organization, and the benefit of great systems. So and again, it's a little unusual for the management team of a large law firm to actually perform legal services, but I think it really helps them tie tie what they're doing and the decisions they're making back into the real world and their partnership. And we're very much like other companies, except that we definitely listen a lot more to our partners. So I think we're probably more receptive to feedback because our partners do own the firm.
And again, is this really the province of large firms alone? And maybe go back to what you said earlier about the haves and have-nots of technology in the legal profession.
I think, and I've only been in this industry for a year and a half, so I've had some exposure to other firms, but I think at other firms it is a little more challenging to move quickly when there's more decision by committee and more decision by large groups. It's very difficult to have to constantly sell everything that you're doing, and I have the benefit of having a little bit more autonomy than I think some of my peers have. And in the end, I hope it gives our firm, a competitive advantage. And I do think that we are adopting new capabilities and technologies faster than any other firm, in my opinion. Some of my colleagues may, my industry peers may very much disagree, but we are making some very quick progress, and again, with the goal of providing better services to our clients and our own lawyers.
So is that always your reference point? You're obviously investing a great deal of time, money, and effort in technology. So is that always your reference point? What does this do for efficiency, for clients? Or instead of putting words in your mouth, please share with us, what are your investment criteria that you apply?
Well, let's start with the basics of IT. So CIO has to make sure that we keep our technology running, that we manage security. So there are basic investments that we have to make to refresh infrastructure, PCs, security capabilities. So those are the basics, the maintenance basics that we have to do that are always a challenge for all of us. We then have the core operational systems that we have to do. Again, just like any other company or firm, we have our financial systems, our HR systems, our back office systems. And then where we want to be a little bit more aggressive on technology is what's going to have that impact for our lawyers. So the infrastructure things and those maintenance items, those are things that we have to do every year. We have to evaluate the cost and investment for our back office capabilities and where there's value in that. How fast do we make those investments? And then to me, it's an easy call to invest in digital engagement technologies with our clients and capabilities for our lawyers. And again, everything from artificial intelligence to new laptops. And our lawyers have seen quite a bit of focus on making sure that they have some of the best technology, and it's going to get even better in the next year.
Tell us about digital. When you say digital engagement technologies, tell us about that.
Well, most law firms, including us, have extranet sites that clients go onto that have some decent capabilities, from file sharing to some collaboration. However, what we haven't seen is a much deeper level of engagement, from complex workflows, code document automation that we see with simple things like Google Docs today, in the consumer space and in the enterprise space as well. We have limited mobile capabilities for clients. We have amazing content that our lawyers write and our firm writes that we publish on our website and through other mechanisms. But we can do a better job of targeting that content, of making it more relevant, and really deepening that engagement with our clients by becoming more of a value to them, not just by providing great legal services, which we do for our clients, but also providing all those other capabilities that, to be honest, we have that I think we can use more effectively through extranet sites, mobility, our internet site, and making sure that that experience is also unique.
We're talking with Michael Shea, who is the CIO of one of the largest law firms in the world, Morgan Lewis. So, Michael, we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm still struck with this idea of you being a technology company, a technology developer. Please tell us more about that. We hear the kind of phrase every now and then that says all companies are technology companies today. But in your case, it's really true. And you're a law firm, which is, in a way, the traditional bastion of paper.
Well, that is true. We don't get me wrong. I still support the records department. We have a lot of paper, but and those new printers. You might ask why we need so many printers. Well, people still like to print, and there are studies showing that it's more effective to review documents in print format. But in terms of technology development, there's two areas where we develop. One are gaps in the market. I mentioned digital client engagement. Having amazing extranet site capabilities. We may use a platform to do that, but we want to have a very unique experience with us and taking advantage of our content and the work that we're doing for our clients already. And even making them more aware of the work that we could do for them. The more we have stickiness with our clients, the more that we can provide value to them and even expand our relationship. We develop all sorts of technology, from mobile apps, from simple ones, from directory applications to we've actually mobilized a huge portion of our internal intranet, which has many web-based applications embedded on this intranet. And we've been working for quite a long time to make sure they work on iPads, they work on iPhones, on Android devices. So a lot of this is just normal enablement, mobile enablement. Some of it is making sure that we've got better workflows within our organization and with our clients. That we provide more transparency to our clients and better and more accurate bills, for example. Some of the core things a law firm does in our operations, and again, where there's gaps or there's inadequate pieces of software or systems on the market, we do evaluate whether we should build it or not.
And you work with Avanade, who's the sponsor of this show, for which we're very grateful. So you have a development team with them in India, or tell us about the kind of development, again, the actual technology development that you're working on.
So our core capabilities, so our application teams consist of a few different areas. We have a group that's focused on our off-the-shelf applications. We've got a group that focuses solely on mobility. We've got a group that focuses on knowledge management systems and our document management system. And then we have a team that focuses on our custom applications. We have a decent size internal development team. And what we do is we extend our internal team with our offshore development resources from Avanade that we have. It's actually in the Philippines. And we have quite a few projects going on. So in IT right now, we have a little over 100 active projects, and I would say out of those 100, about a third of those are involving some sort of systems development effort, and in some cases, custom configuration of off-the-shelf systems. So a huge amount of activity going on in the firm right now.
So you have a 100 projects. Again, I'm still so focused on this idea of you as a law firm developing your own technology and partnering with Avanade to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me it makes sense. we're like many other industries, but our industry, in some cases, there's some amazing solutions on the market, and we've either investigated them or purchased them or are looking at them. But there are also other areas that have just been very weak, and some of these are not as sexy as augmented reality, but some of them are basic. Again, basic transactional systems, workflow systems. But one of the things that we're very much focusing on is we've built a user experience and design team, which I think is also a bit unique. And that team is having a massive impact in that they're touching all these systems to make sure that we're not just developing new systems, but we're developing systems that work great, that function well, and that serve our business well.
So that's really interesting. So you've got a centralized user experience team, which is touching all of these different projects that you have going on.
We do, and again, it's something I'm very, very passionate about, and we brought in some pretty great people who really had a big impact. And what's interesting is that our development teams, our project managers, our business analysts, they get it now. They get why those user experience people and those designers are critical to what they do, because they take the great concepts the business analysts come up with. They take the great software that the teams develop and just make it so much better.
We have just a few minutes left, and what advice do you have for others in the legal industry who are looking at your firm, looking at Morgan Lewis and saying, we're smaller, we can't do this, but we also need to change? How would you recommend that they go forward into the future with their own transformation?
Well, I think one of the things that I would say is to ensure that there is clear communication with the leadership of the law firm. And in some cases, from what I've heard of other firms, there is a bit of a communication wall, a gap between the executive team that is helping to run the firm and the managing partners of the firm that are really the key leadership of the firm. And that communication gap is and even more so will be detrimental. I think that the need for change is critical, but many law firms are still doing pretty well. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. And that's a big mistake. This is an area where technology and knowledge management and information governance in these areas actually need investment, and these investments don't have an impact day one. It is a multi-year journey that any company or law firm must take, and the longer a firm waits to start making these investments, to start to address some of that technical debt that has built up over the years, the things that weren't addressed, because that also has to be done at the same time, the more of a disadvantage they're going to find themselves in the future. So I think a CIO's job, and everybody's job in IT, is to really try to communicate where the most effective technologies and impacts are going to be. And for law firms, it really may depend on the types of practices they have, where different technologies are going to have an impact. So I think that communication, I've been very lucky in that I've had very good exposure to our leadership and great support, and they've had the foresight to support these initiatives, and I think they're seeing the benefit today, and they will absolutely see more benefit going forward.
Well, fantastic. We have been talking with Michael Shea, who is the Chief Information Officer of Morgan Lewis, a large multinational law firm. Michael Shea, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for watching episode number 188 of CXOTalk. And thank you again so much to Avanade for sponsoring this episode, and also to Livestream for being our video partner and video distribution partner. You guys are all great, and we're very grateful for it. Next week, we have 2 shows. Tune in for the first one on Wednesday, where we will be talking with the Chief Digital Officer of Rachel Ray. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.